Hello, dear beloveds. I think that might have been live a bit longer than it told me, so I'm sorry if I was just sitting here looking a little bit vague. I just had an infrared sauna as well, so I'm feeling deeply relaxed, and that's the perfect state to be in, of course, when we are tuning into our archetypes. And today is day 5. We've got through our first week because, of course, we're not doing it on weekends. We're just doing 17 days on the weekdays, and today is day 5. So we'll be taking up most of May. And today is an interesting one because nobody has the first few days, it was really clear who was arriving into my consciousness. And today is proving, and the last few days have proven to be quite different to that. I have a feeling that's because they're all very keen to chat and connect. And so I feel like there's always kind of 2 options at the moment. So what we're going to do to begin, if your day has been anything like mine, then spending some time together in some stillness and some going inwards is going to be perfect. And then the 2 that are vying for my attention, one of them will show me which is shared today, which is going to be shared today. So if you're safe to do so and you'd like to, I invite you to close down your eyes now. Take a deep breath in through your nose, holding at the top of the inhalation just for a moment, and then exhaling out through the mouth with a sound like that, or with an audible sigh, just exhaling all that stuck and stagnant air. And doing that a few more times just to allow you to arrive in this ever-present now. Yesterday's archetype, the saboteur, was quite sort of theoretical, and we talked a lot about the ways that she can potentially show up. Today feels quite experiential. And we have a winner out of the 2 that we're wanting to share today. And today is the Maiden. And I do have her here, of course, in these beautiful cards. So let me show you the Maiden. So you can see her. That is not the Maiden. That is, I know she's here because I'm sure I was just, here we go. Here is the beautiful Maiden. I'm not sure I can hold that up or do that. I'm not good. There we go. Beautiful design by Christy Jameson. And I'll just read you the words from the Maiden. But I have a feeling if anyone's keen, what we're going to do today is really notice the quality of your Maiden energy, what she might need. The Maiden's going to speak directly to anyone who wants to volunteer. So if you're here and you would like me to just evaluate the quality of the Maiden archetype in your field and how she might serve you right now, or how she can be brought back into balance. If she's out of balance, then I'm very happy to do that today. That feels like her offer. Very experiential compared to yesterday, as I said, which was quite a theoretical, philosophical conversation about the way the saboteur can show up. So the Maiden, honestly, for me, until recently, the Maiden has been an archetype that I felt very disconnected from, and really unsure if she was sort of part of my life anymore. And then I remember just over a year ago being on retreat in Bali with Uma Spender, my yoga teacher and spiritual teacher, and we were in the jungle in Bali and doing lots of amazing work with the Shakti energy. And I felt this outpouring of grief for my Maiden and my disconnection from her. And this last few months has really been a reuniting with her. And I want to share the words from the Maiden just because I feel like we often have an idea of the Maiden being associated with our youth or young people, or that it's not part of our life if we reach a certain age. And that's just not true at all. So the Maiden says, I am open and so willing. I want to fit the whole world into my being. I want to consume life without hesitation, all of it, the light and the dark. I want to taste it all. I am unafraid of the new and unknown. I am certain of my success. Even if I fall, I have won, for understanding is what I seek. I bring my courage like a light to shine into the darkness. I transmute my pain with the innocence of my heart. I'm a bold adventurer. Make way for me because here I come. And honestly, yes, that maiden energy has just been, I'm going to put her in my stand. Actually, the beautiful cards come, or you can order a stand to go with them. And my stand's been empty. So I'm putting the maiden there. And she's been hugely present with me, not surprisingly since the ending of my marriage at the beginning of the year, but just the invitation started a year ago when I felt the grief of disconnection from her. And when we look at those words, we realize it's not about being young or being associated with this kind of princess, nubile, virgin energy, but rather that it is the willingness to say yes, to be open. So as I said, the Maiden would like to offer evaluations today. And Karen and Alonka, thank you for nominating. We'll do a few more. So if anyone would like me to tune in and just notice how the Maiden energy is showing up for you and what maybe is out of balance in regards to her, or what may be available if you invite her more deeply into your consciousness. So Karen, my darling, we'll begin with you. And there's a word here that I just want to repeat. I am unafraid of the new and unknown. And for you, my darling Karen, this has been a really big one. Willingness to step into the new and the unknown. There's a real comfort and almost like a survival energy around keeping things known, keeping yourself safe in that energy of the familiar. And there's a lot in that is really positive for you. So there is creating patterns or habits or repetition of actions, creating order from chaos. A lot of that is good. That's discipline. That suggests that you have things under control. But there's a shadow side of that where we move from everything is sort of in a state of order and there is harmony and balance in my life, to where we become rigid and fixed, and we actually start becoming almost obsessive in our habits or behaviors as a protective mechanism. I am terrified of change. I am afraid of the unknown. The new scares me. So I keep creating these patterns that never change of behavior and interactions around me, whilst also yearning for change. So we create this kind of war within ourselves, and that is where I feel you're at, my darling, where the terror of the new and the unknown can give way now, because the Maiden is here with that absolute certainty that you cannot fail, that there is nothing to fail at. There is simply the willingness to turn back on that adventure energy for you, that light, to turn on that curiosity and that willingness to step out of the comfort into that space of transformation, which comes when we get uncomfortable, when we don't know what's going to happen as a result. We're not in control. And that is the opposite. That's the opposite of being out of control in the shadow way. The being out of control is I'm abdicating responsibility. Whatever happens, happens. My actions are kind of chaotic and cause harm. For you, my darling, this is very much about ease in control, letting God in is the language I would use, or letting the infinite move you now, letting grace move you, let the Maiden move you, and let that aridness, that sense that life feels dry and hard and difficult go, because she's here inviting you into the lusciousness and that absolute generosity of her energy to be curious and playful. What else is possible for you? And to just sort of throw out all these ideas of self right now that are limiting, and to just say, okay, I don't know who I am. I'm willing to let it all go for a little while and just see what lands. Some of what I have may be what it is I want, but maybe there's things that I've just been carrying around that are learned behavior that really have nothing to do with what I truly am at my core. And the Maiden's here inviting you to go on an inner journey with absolute curiosity, to be the pilgrim within. She had a lot to say to you, my darling. Thank you so much for letting us evaluate you and to making yourself open here. And there's a lot in that. And I know there's some heaviness there for you. But this is all turning. This is changing now. This energy is shifting and changing. It's really just about the more you let go of a perceived sense of control right now, the more joy and freedom will actually come into your life, which feels the opposite, but it's true. Okay. So just to reiterate, anyone who's here who would like an evaluation with the Maiden, just let me know. We've got Alonka and then Jane. So I can probably do a few more if anyone would like to see how this energy can show up for you. Well, here we are, Alonka. My goodness, the Maiden is dancing with you, and there is a sense that she's been with you for some time, and she is absolutely dancing through your field. There is this sense of willingness, of stepping wildly into the unknown of your being and throwing away any sense of order, and really being that pilgrim to the inner mansion of your soul, and being willing to just go on this glorious adventure. And it really is like, at the moment, that sense of sweetness and of life, that richness, that feeling that everything is possible and what else is possible. And it's like that beautiful image I have of the maiden, of like, she wants to taste everything, like everything is just so exciting to her. And I feel very much that even though there may be some weariness, there may be some events of your recent life that have been challenging that energy, deeper than the superficial, she is there, and she's the one telling that story. And she's absolutely just so sweetly luscious, that's the word, abundantly present in your field. And trust that energy. There will be some around you who say that it's almost like a kind of madness or silliness or being irresponsible, but please trust her. She is wise. She may be innocent, but that doesn't mean she's naive. Her innocence is a suggestion of her open and pure heart, and that is absolutely what is true for you. So now is the time for you to trust yourself above all else. Put down the need for others' opinions, because they will not serve you. You must be the navigator of your own journey inwards. Thank you, beautiful Alonka, for letting us evaluate you. Gosh, we've got a few now coming. I'll see how I go. We may not get through everybody, but I'll just see how the energy is traveling. My baby sister priestesses and I this afternoon are doing 108 recitations of the Gayatri mantra. So I want to make sure I have a little time to prepare for that most sacred initiation. So Jane. Now here we have the door half open, half closed. The maiden is standing on the other side very patiently, just tapping away. And sometimes you have the courage to kind of crack the door open and you peer your head around and you can see her in her gloriousness. And here's the interesting thing. You close the door not because you don't like her, but because you don't necessarily believe that you're worthy of her. You don't necessarily believe that all of your life can feel as blissful and joyful and as full of adventure as she is suggesting it can be. And so when you open the door and you get a sense of the wave of her joy and her wonder and her open-heartedness and her innocence, you close it just as quickly because it confuses you. Isn't life meant to be a burden? Isn't it supposed to get harder as I get older? Aren't those things the fanciful things of my youth that I'm supposed to leave behind as I become all the things, the mother and the wife and the responsible businesswoman? Surely I'm meant to not feel as good as the maiden is suggesting is available to me. And we want to just absolutely put the kibosh on that right now. She is an aspect of self. She cannot be excluded. And whilst you try to exclude her, believing that that is not how life should be, that story that you heard somewhere, once upon a time, someone said to you, Jane, life is hard and you must work hard. And joy is a superficial thing, and pleasure is for those who have the time and the money and the freedom, and none of those things apply to us. And I can hear all of these subconscious stories running in the background, and it's fascinating how much time they take up, even though you're not conscious of them. And now is the time. Open the door wide. Let her in. Let her clear out that subconscious story that says life must be hard. And that there is this drying up of the joy, the pleasure, the soul level of self as we venture into our adulthood, and reclaim her, because you once were so knit into her energy. And she's right there. She's not going anywhere. She is you, my darling, and you are her. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love this. All right, beautiful Tosca. What a day we've had. Tosca was with me this morning when we announced her as one of the incoming postgraduate priestesses for 2020. So congratulations, dear sister. It's a day of celebration. And yes, of course, the maiden is here. Okay, darling, now you've done this really big thing, this big scary thing. You've leapt off the cliff into the unknown. And I mean in lots of ways in your life recently. I don't mean in one specific way, although this most recent thing is also part of that, of jumping into the unknown. And now you've got to keep the faith, my darling. And the way you keep the faith is to keep her centered. Life is meant to be the joy that you offer it to others to be. You are entitled to live from that space. So don't doubt it now. It isn't a nice idea, it is truth. And the more you have the courage to just keep leaping, you will realize that you're flying. There actually is no landing. You're not going to come crashing down to earth. There's no consequence. There's no pound of flesh. There's no price to pay for that state of bliss and joy. But what is happening now is that even as you leap, you're anchoring into this energy of the maiden, of this luscious, putting everything in your mouth and tasting the richness and feeling that pilgrim soul that is your nature, the seeker. The maiden is this, spiritual adventurer that is not going anywhere. It's not temporary. There's this fear that it's fleeting, that it's temporary, that you can't always have it. There will be periods of it coming and going. But what if this is your life? What if you are a guide to that for others? So please don't think she's going to abandon you mid-leap, because it will not happen. Thank you, dear sister. Lovely to celebrate that with you. Okay, who do we have next? Gorgeous. Kia, yet another one of my incoming postgraduate priestesses. What a privilege to get to hang out with you today. Now your maiden, my darling, is in evolution. She's actually going through a process of metamorphosis right now. And in fact, she is the one you are leaving behind. So that is not a bad thing at all. But for a while, you are being invited into another phase. And she's actually encouraging you to let go of the need for her to be the energy in your life right now. She's very clear that you two are obviously never going to part. She is an aspect of you, but there is another calling you in now. And she's actually doing this loving kind of gently pushing you out of that space and letting you know that for a time there is another energy that is going to be particularly dominant with you, and to be unafraid of letting go of those things that you would imagine are associated with her. And there's a deeper, richer kind of pull towards something. And I'm not going to tell you what that is, but she is calling you in. And I want you to find out in your meditation who's calling you in, because there's a sense of responsibility coming, and that may feel like a weight. And in a way, the maiden is not the one to carry you through this next phase. The energy of who is waiting for you, who is calling you in, and you are going to share that with me when you're ready. She has the kind of broad shoulders that you need to carry this weight of responsibility, that whilst you may go, oh my God, but it's all been responsibility, Ricky, I don't want any more of that. This is not spirituality. This is not in your day-to-day life. This is in your spiritual life, okay? So this is not about more burden in terms of having to do more parenting or more feeding or more cleaning or any of that stuff. I mean, the big responsibility of your work as a spiritual leader. So I'm curious, and I look forward to you sharing with me who is calling you in. But the maiden is saying it's safe to go. It doesn't have to feel like me right now, and that is absolutely perfect. Where are we? Yeah, let's do a couple more. Okay, beautiful Carol. Okay, my darling. Well, Maiden here is really dancing with you again, but almost on her own. She's in your field, and she wants to be playfully engaging you. There's a coming and a going from her. There's a sense that you are waking up to the truth that nothing has been lost. So you have not lost her. Nothing in your life has taken you away from her. But there's also an accompanying energy of almost grief around what has been wasted. Time you feel has been wasted. And we encourage you to see the maiden as she is timeless. She's outside of time and space. Nothing has been lost. No time has been wasted. And you pick up that energy now, forward with the energy of the maiden now, without thinking, what have I missed out? What I could have done if only had known sooner. These regrets will not help at all in any way, no matter what part of your life they are applied to, but to keep moving in the direction of the maiden now, holding hands, running, skipping, jumping, playing into this energy of creation, of curiosity, of abundance, of willingness, of lightheartedness, and to put down the heaviness of, but so much has happened in the intervening time and I have lost her. But she's here. She's like, you didn't. I'm right here. Let's go on this adventure together. So please don't think that you have experienced anything or that anything could have occurred to take her away from you, because that is simply not true. Yes. Thank you, my darling. She's right there. And she'll show you how if you're not sure. Okay, my darling Georgia. Who I hope will be with me this afternoon for 108 recitations of the Gayatri Mantra, even with children around. It's Friday afternoon. It's no problem. We're going to be all in with the kids. Likewise, my darling sister, like your sister Kia, the maiden is not the archetype for you right now. She is an aspect of you. She is with you always because we are all one, of course. But there's a maturing of your energy, your spiritual energy. Once again, I'm not talking about your 3D life. There's the burdens, the weight, the heaviness, all of that at the 3D. You know how to do that. This is the spiritual heavy lifting, and there's a greater kind of power in you that's required. It's not this kind of like playful kind of jumping discovery energy. It's I am here now, I've arrived, I'm on the path, and now I'm anchoring into that. And it's almost like you need the heavy weight, and I don't mean it in a sense of burdensome. I mean like you need the anchor. You need to let yourself anchor into this path and really put everything else down and take that leap into the spiritual maturity that comes when we focus with such single-minded devotion on one point and let nothing else distract us. And once again, like your sister Kira, I'm going to ask you to tell me who's calling you in, because it's got gravitas, this archetype that's calling you in. She's got big weight in her, and I know that makes it sound like I'm speaking in human terms, but I'm not. I mean, energetically, she's got big weight. She's got reputation. Like she's impressive, and her influence and her capacity to hold you here now is exactly what you need, so that slightly like this energy can be anchored, and it will bring such deep peace and such a sense of relief after so much of this kind of energy in the spiritual path. I mean, I don't mean in your personal life or your family life. All right, I think that is all she has. Beautiful. Okay, how we let's do a couple. All right, Deb. All right. Well, flat out, you've rejected the maiden. You're like, nah, done. That's over. Put her away. All that kind of, princess, Disney, whatever. Like, that's not my life. I'm not, Anna in Frozen. It's not for me anymore. I'm very, I'm serious. I've got serious business to do. And the maiden is like, I ain't going nowhere. And there's this almost like a self-protective mechanism that you are afraid if she is allowed back in, or you let her open up, that you might not want. Now, this is big, and I honor you, and I know that you've nominated yourself, but I just want to caveat by saying, this is big stuff, but it's good stuff for you to hear. Maybe if you let her in, you will see truth, and maybe you will see that there are certain things in your life that you don't want anymore, but you've tricked yourself into, or talked yourself into thinking a little bit like we heard before, this is just the way it is. You get to a certain age and it's going to look a certain way, and you put down the things of your youth, and you put down your dreams and your idle, fantasies, and you just get on with the hard slog of being alive. Oh my goodness, no, that is not how life is meant to be, and that is not the story that I want you to be telling yourself anymore. And the maiden is like, just sort of here like this, okay, when are we getting back on board? Because you're like a team. That energy is so true to who you are at your essence. That energy is you at your essence, this curiosity, this wide-eyed wonder, this innocent heart, which is not naivety. It's this open-hearted, love easily, give generously, not let your life be a heavy, burdensome toll that lands on you like a dead weight, but to just truly be present to your gifts, your skills, your capacity, the energy you bring to others. But you've excluded yourself from that gift. You've said no to yourself. You give it to others, but you won't give it to yourself. And that's a special kind of cruel, to exclude yourself from what you want from others. That vision of your life, my darling, that the secretest place in your heart, that is truth. That is truth. So when you let her come back in, you will find that what felt impossible becomes reasonable and even possible again. And I really want you to put down this idea that you're a muggle baby, because it just ain't true. And the more you let yourself be the magic that you are, not for others, but for yourself, you will find what I'm speaking about. And the maiden is you. Gosh, to reject yourself is a really heavy, heavy weight to carry. So let's stop doing that now. All right. Oh my goodness, all you beauties. So many beautiful people here. Okay, let me just see. All right. Lena, my gorgeous sister. Eve just says, hello, darling, that resonates with me so much. Came to me in a meditation this morning. I've been so scared recently to be myself, and in fact, don't even recognize myself anymore. Yeah, that energy was with me, and Eve and I were together on that retreat that I spoke about with our teacher, Uma, and the grief in realizing that I had become so separated from my maiden and thinking that was just the way my life had to be now. It was a separation of self from self, and such an important part of me. So I kind of feel like you've self-evaluated beautifully. You don't need me at all. You know what the antidote to that is, and the power in you to reunite with her or bring her home. Yeah, you got that so clearly. But it's a visceral thing. When our maiden is made separate from us, it's like we become a stranger to our own bodies in a lot of the way. And often I think we can associate, for me anyway, that feeling of being separate from the maiden by being separate from my body, like my body's numb or anesthetized. And when we come home to our body, woof, then the maiden's coming around, which is a lovely feeling. So Lena, coming back to you, my darling, let's tune into that. Well, if others have rejected the maiden, my darling, you have put her in a box and you are sitting on the box and you're like, no way, you are not coming out of this box, young lady. You stay in there because this is not your time, and look at me and look how busy my life is and look how much is going on, and you're actually having to sit on the box in order to keep that energy down. And yet I want you to go back to the core of or the beginning of everything that you've created in your life, everything you've created. And you've done it with such consciousness and such intentionality. And you've arrived at this place where you are now inheriting everything that you've created. But there's almost a complete exhaustion that is preventing you from even being able to see the truth of how much wonder and beauty and power and grace that you have created in your life. And then in a way, you have to exclude it from yourself. This is really interesting. And no doubt, of course, it's complex because of where you are in your own awakening. But let me just get to the heart of this relationship with the maiden. So you're sitting on the box and she's in it and she's like, let me out, let me out. Why won't you let her out? What is it that you're not letting out? It's very much that feeling that you've arrived at this place which you have worked so hard for and created, and it's your vision and you've brought it into being. But now, okay, so here it is. There's this fear that you can't have it all. So you got everything you wanted and now you've got it. Surely the price to pay is suffering. Like if you enjoy it too much, then you'll look ungracious, or you'll look like you're, kind of showing off, or others will want to take what you've got, because if you're too open with it, then it will look like you're bragging, or, oh my goodness, it will look like, you become a target for other people's attention. They might want to take it or destroy it. So it's like I have to suffer even in the bliss of what I've created, because if I'm enjoying it too much or life is too good, then I'm in danger of losing it. Well, there's a sneaky little fucker, if I ever heard one. Whoa, that's not fun. So let's stop that. So you're actually sitting on your maiden and hiding from your own joy, your own bliss, your own pleasure, and all of that could be around you in your environment, because you really do have created a paradigm of having it all, in fear that you'll either look like you are, gloating and showing off, or that others will try to take what you have. So this is deep, deep primal stuff, baby. It's buried deep down there, but this is it. You got to let this baby out. You got to let the maiden out, because she's the missing ingredient. She's the special magic source. She's the thing that's been excluded through this fear of your survival will be put at risk if you let her out. But she's got to be invited back into your home, into your heart, into your relationships, because it's your true nature. Once again, that is who and what you are. Oh, my darling. Oh, that's good. But you're going to have fun with that. I know you're going to do the deep work with that. All right, I'm sure that we will have more opportunity with these archetypes, that more of them will show up wanting to offer evaluations. And I'm just really grateful for so many of you showing up on a Friday afternoon. I know it's not always easy, but that was really fun. And I love the maiden energy. Oh my goodness, she was just flowing freely. Of course she is. Of course she is. And she's going to stay in my little stand here on my desk. I change them, just intuitively when I feel to, but she's with me right now. She's, it's such a lovely reminder of that journey that I've taken in the last year to find her. And I had really put her in the box. Well, if I have all of this in my service and success in my business and all of that, well, surely that means that the price I have to pay is I don't get to have the pleasure. I don't get to have the maiden. I'll shut that part of my life down. And she's woken up again. And let me tell you, she's having a very nice time. So let me be the evidence that it is possible to have all of that at once. So much love to you all. That is day 5 done and dusted. I'll be back on Monday. I'll make sure I let you know before then what time I'll be going live. Keep sharing. Please invite anyone you think would love to be part of this adventure into the group. And of course, as you know, the interviews are closing very soon for the 3rd level. So if you want to become conversant in the language of archetype, I'll share the link so you can book your interview. Many sisters here, if you want to ask them about their experience, I'm sure they would be generous enough to let you know. But this really is such a powerful way to live, to be able to speak in the language of archetype, to see symbolically, to see through 3D to 5D. It is freedom, and it's such a joy, and it's my privilege to serve you. So much love to you all. Mwah.